that will illustrate this. This will include teamwork within the organization as well as teamwork outside the organization. The study that I'm going to just briefly touch on involved 83 new product innovation teams. The question was, what makes a team innovative? There were two key findings. Number one, sequential thinking decreases innovation. How? By reducing psychological safety. And the second finding was that connective thinking improves innovation. How? By increasing cooperative learning. Many of you may have been present in a meeting where they're having some kind of a discussion, and you knew that there was one or two people in that room that had pertinent information to contribute, but they didn't say anything. Why? Perhaps they just did not feel like it was safe for them to speak up. They may have been worried that they might be ridiculed, or they might even be fired if they expressed an opinion that was in conflict with the prevailing norm. So they didn't say anything. Let's just have an overview now of this old versus the new method. In the old product development method, the first department or group will perform their function, and then they hand it off to the next group and so on until the result is produced. In that situation, you don't need psychological safety. So that person that did not speak up in the meeting would not need to. On the other hand, with this new approach, it's vital. There must be psychological safety for these different groups and entities to be able to interact the way they do. And when that is the case, then everyone can put their ideas, perspectives in Milwaukee. They can identify safety with the safety manager at Boeing. Now they had a name and a face on their challenge, and that was very motivating. They did something else that was new. They brought in an outside consulting company called Group 4 Design. Group 4 was a company that wasn't biased by the previous development efforts at Ingersoll Rand. In the past, the way they created a new product is it was engineering driven. They would come out with a new functionality and then they would slap something on the outside of it and get it over to the customers. Group 4 cared about the outside of the product as a top priority. So they had to completely reverse their thinking. Philip Federspiel, the principal, had his team to create 30 new models potentially for a new tool. Then the internal team took a look at those and they picked 6 or 8 of them, which they turned into foam models really quickly. Group 4 really did bring a fresh perspective. For instance, typically, a grinder was thought to have a round shape to it. But Group 4 said, well, why don't we get it to have a D shape? That was totally new. Group 4 also did their own customer visits. And they discovered that that operator will only, that when he gets a new Ingersoll Rand grinder, he will knock the end off of that tool, the safety lock, because it stuck out too far and it hurt his hand. And then he would plop a big mound of tape on the end of it so it would not injure him. Another thing was that that operator guy would not use this tool beyond the point where it stalled. So they learned they had to make a product that would not stall. Another thing they learned was that the customer wasn't just that guy. It was the safety manager, it was the plant manager, it was the distributors and salesmen. If they were really going to move this product in a new way, in a bigger way. They would have to make all of these people happy. So this was a big challenge. They really did use a team process at Ingersoll Rand that was different. Pool, it had woods for exploring, it had a basketball hoop in the basement. It was a great setting for building camaraderie. That was important because at certain junctures, James Stryker's bosses would put pressure on him because they wanted him to get that team to go in a certain direction. But he resisted because he had gone to a lot of trouble to create a setting of psychological safety, and he did not want to destroy that. He also understood the importance of buy-in and the importance of having everyone on his team on the same page. He went to a lot of trouble to create an open space where they could have a lot of different ideas present. In fact, he even allowed them to, for a time, pursue a dual path, in other words, to pursue several different approaches, because he had faith that they would see the different connections and all get on the same page eventually, which they did. They had some key challenges in terms of the material. Excuse me. They had tried to make this grinder in steel. They tried making it in aluminum. Group 4 had some of their models made up in plastic, and that gave the internal team the idea, well, why don't we see if we can make the actual product in plastic? They mentioned it to their distributors, and the distributors were just aghast. They almost had a heart attack. They said, we cannot sell a product that's made out of some kind of flimsy plastic like that. But anyway, they wanted to explore this further and just check it out. So they finally found a company called Phillips Plastics that they could really have a collaboration with. They were able to share capital. They were just thrilled. At the same time they worked on that, they also worked with 3M. The problem they were having was that this grinder uses abrasive accessories, but the speeds did not match. And normally what they would do is they would take this problem to industry groups, and then those industry groups would, through them, they would resolve this in about 5 years or so. Well, this internal team did not want to wait 5 years, so they made about 6 different trips directly to 3M to work with them directly, and they solved it by creating it in only 3 months. Wow. As a result of all this activity, they were able to introduce this brand new product, the cyclone grinder, in June of 1989. And that was twice as fast as their typical product development cycle, as the old way would allow. This new method, it must be safe for people to speak up so you can have an open discussion so everyone can get all their ideas and information out on the table. Then connect, which that's what they did when they created the cyclone grinder. Remember the key to teamwork for innovation: connections.